Right, we're now live. Sorry, guys, I've got to let you know, Luke was literally just instinct.
I'm just having a full-on conversation like 1 second before.
Yeah, no, Luke was getting told off by his by the person he lives with for talking too loudly.
It's fine. I got the window closed. It's no problems now, you know.
Yeah, you got the window, so the neighbours can't hear what's going on Never Mind the Buy Box. Sorry, guys, that's just really tickled me as we were going live. You was getting telling off. Sorry about that.
Let me just add it on my phone for a second.
Are we live?
Let's go. Yeah, we are. I can see it.
We are live. Right, okay. Got to log in. I always forget to do this every single time. So good evening, everybody, and welcome to another like podcasting kind of Facebook Live episode of Never Mind the Buy Box. I'm joined by regular contributor Luke Duggan. Evening, Luke. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, good. It's a bit. We've got lots to talk about tonight. There's going to be a lot. I think there's going to be a lot of questions about everything that's kind of going on with the Amazon world. But yeah, not too bad. It's been a little bit of a funny week this week. It's been a really. I don't know if you ever have like. Oh, there we go. The comments aren't coming through. Are they starting to come through now? Okay, cool. So everyone's jumping on. It's been a bit of a bitty week this week. I've just felt pulled in about a million different directions with Amazon, with new projects I've taken on, with getting things kind of tied up and done, and it's just been a weird week, you know, since I was on last week with Matt anyway as well. But you know, I'd like to say it's been a productive week, but you know, like when you have one of those weeks where you're just super busy, you feel pulled in about a million directions, and then you kind of look at the end of the week and you look at what you've done over the previous week, you haven't really achieved much. But then sometimes I do think with those weeks, it's the sort of those type of weeks where the effort you put in, you may not see immediately. You may see it like 2 months down the road or something.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, you know, it's a classic saying, isn't it? Like, they say, you know, a lot of when people see very successful people, they look at what they have now, but it's like 25 years of them doing things that no one ever saw them do. You know, like, it was just things that they did like that didn't even really add any value by themselves, but over the years and over, you know, decades or whatever, it created to the sort of point where they got, you know, where they are now. And that's so yeah. It's just about like, yeah, adding that little percentage on everything you're doing, you know.
Yeah, I've said it before and I've said it again. It's like totally out of Finding Nemo. Dory, just keep swimming, and that's what you got to do. And it's all about consistency, and we will talk a little bit about that today, because you know, I stand by it, and I probably haven't used the C word for a while, you know, the good C word, obviously, I mean, but you know, this business is totally about consistency. Everything is about consistency, and I think if you weren't Mr. FBA, i.e. your Facebook group, I think you would be Mr. Consistency, because you are definitely a consistent person.
Am I? Do you know what? Yeah. I was thinking this. I was like, what am I good at? Like, this is a general thought I always have to myself. What if people ask me what am I good at, and I think to myself sometimes, what am I good at? I literally go, that's it. That's exactly it. That's exactly. Even now, I was trying to think. I definitely have thought something, and then I forgot. Yeah, I don't know.
No, totally consistent. You know, been working with you for a bit now, and I definitely see it. You know, and it's something. I definitely think the most successful sellers in these games, you know, are the ones that just rinse and repeat, consistent. But let's have a hello to everyone. We've had quite a few people jump on. I thought it was going to be busy tonight, because judging, you can always get a little bit of a feel for how busy these episodes are going to be for, you know, with what's going on in the Facebook groups, and you know what people are sort of talking about, and you know, there's been a lot of buzz over the last day. Yeah, definitely. So let's say hello to everyone. So we've got a lot of Lukes in the house tonight. We've got Luke Roberts, Terry, Matt, evening, Ruth, hi, Karen, Neil, Suresh, Daisy, Chris, Kelly. Matt says Nat is normally on the left. Do you know what?
It's just we have to do a little. Yeah, well, we don't have to do a switch through.
Yeah, we have to do a shuffle. Yeah, we had to do a Be Live shuffle beforehand. But does
it look like I'm like number one because I'm, you know?
Yeah, you're in pole position tonight. Maybe we'll just stop talking and you can do it all, and I'll just stay quiet. You're in pole position tonight. Simon says, good evening. Adam, hi. Dave, Chris, Deep, Luca, Kelly, Sean, Andrea, Vlad, Michelle, evening. Evening, Vlad. Hello, David. Hello, Callan. And hi, Luca. Yeah, loads of people in the house. But guys, if you can, make sure you give us some, keep pressing that heart button. Because
I've done it like 15 times. And
I can see it going off. I can see it going off all the time. But yeah, if you give us some likes and loves, and it helps push out the Facebook notification just to let everyone know that we're live. So it's been a little bit of a funny week. But you've had some kind of big news over the last week.
Everyone calls it big news. I just see it as like a thing.
Do you know what? I think it's because, talking about that consistency, talking about that habit, you've made a huge change in your business in the last week. And I wanted to ask you, I'll let you, kind of say what you've done. But you've made this huge change, and I wanted to kind of ask you how you're feeling about it, week one, I suppose, in.
Yeah, so when did I start to you're talking about me moving fully 100%, apart from I got some returns here, apart from those, to a prep center. Yeah, is that what you're talking
absolutely.
About? Just
definitely. It's pretty big. It's pretty big for someone that's been selling for what, 4 years?
Yeah, it would be like pretty much 4 years. What we now June, just over four and a couple months. Well, properly full time. That's what I normally. I'll call it full time. Is when I normally say, because you could do it on the side. But yeah, so fully moved to a prep center. Couple of reasons. Obviously, I'm planning to move the end of July. The 20th. So I've got a flight going on the 20th. Well, I booked it all. Let's see what happens. That's sort of work and do it right now. So I was transitioning, and I purposely wanted to go and try, like, number one, my back's breaking. So number one, that back's not going to last forever. And it's just annoying me now. It's like, it's not bad, but it's just a little, just like annoying. It's like, I don't need that in my life, that sort of thing. And now it's fine, like a week later, so it's not that bad. But also I was thinking, hang on, now that I'm sort of doing quite well and everything's sort of planning out as I could ever, as I could, not could ever predict, because obviously recently we haven't predicted, but I could clearly see the path, even if it wasn't now, like maybe next year, that this would sort of bring by what I'm doing. And I thought, well, now I'm in a position to potentially go away and just live somewhere else and just try that out and that kind of thing. Like, it's more like just to do it because I can. It's like going and live somewhere else. If I really hate it, then I hate it. Who knows? But like, it's better. People will say, oh yeah, so where do you live? I literally live down the road. It's like, well, why don't you live somewhere else? Because like, this is the only job that you could, one of the only things working online that you could do. Anyway, back to the prep side. So yeah, that's also the prep. And like, obviously, if anyone saw my post in my group last week, I spent like 25K. I think it's probably a bit more. It's probably like 27, 28. Because I was so over time, it slowly got too much, over these sort of last couple of months. I was keeping up, but every time it was just going a little bit, like, it was just getting a little bit less. Just couldn't keep in those sort of stock limits that I wanted, and across all the different lines. So I knew it was something that needed to be done anyway, and it was either going to be this month or next month. So it was really not particularly any massive, I already knew it was happening. And a guy that I know sort of contacted me and said, there's a guy I know starting a prep center. He's got some clients, but he'd be like, if you want to use him for a bit and try him out, we can do you a good deal and all that kind of thing. He's literally just, because he was made redundant a couple of months ago, he knows the guy that I know, and they sort of suggested doing it. That's sort of where it came about. That's why I'm doing it early. And I just went, okay. And so today I shipped my first pallet to Amazon. So we're going down that route now because of the amount that I'm doing. So not only am I able to obviously do the prep center, but now I'm going crazy with my purchasing because I'm not doing it myself. And I know that there's this extra staff and all that kind of thing. So even though it's a bit of a change, come like, Q4, for example, I can see it paying for itself. So not only will I be doing like less work, it'll actually be paying and making its own money. And, if you kind of get what I'm trying to say, because of the amount of new products I'll be selling and new leads. It's like, just in the last couple of days, I found like 30 extra replenishables just, in half a day. And it was just like, oh, that's easy. I spend $3,000 on that. And it's just like, obviously that's not going to be forever. You can't do that every week. But over the next couple of months, all the way to Q4, plus all the current knowledge I have, and I'm like, that should do it. And plus I'm able to focus on more the analytical side of the business and the numbers and the finding and squeezing out the margins in different specific areas, which is then going to obviously help compound it further and just make it a bit more of a refined professional business. Was that a good interview, or
Yeah.
I'm saying it like?
What I was going to ask actually is because, by the way, I'm not like you've left it too late. You should have done it earlier. It has to be a right time, for everybody in their business. And we've had long discussions about, this being the right time for you for various different reasons. But now that you've done it, now that you've taken that step, and I think it is a much bigger step than you think it is, actually. I do think it is a big step in your business. And I think this could be, when you look back in a year's time, this could be one of the most vital steps that you've taken in your business, during the whole
even
time.
now I'm thinking about, okay, let's get a pallet from a wholesaler next week.
Yeah. Which you've never done that before.
I've already got a couple of potential where I'm, I already plan where would I, sort of leads, follow-up leads that I need to look at. And I had a quick look and I was like, you know what, actually I found some quite good deals. A friend that I know is gonna help me out. But one of the guys that related to the whole prep thing, so he's quite good. He's sort of open to sharing how he gets and does things like I am. And I was thinking, now I can get 3 pallets next week, 10 grand. That's the sort of mindset I'm thinking now. Obviously, that won't last forever. I'm not that loaded or whatever.
But come Q4, it's going to be like a huge weight, and it is something I always talk about it. With the prep side of things, and I've always made the statement of, because some people, when people put comments in Facebook groups, and if someone says, can someone recommend a prep center, you'll generally have a few people jump on the thread. And a few people will say, you don't need a prep center, do it yourself. It costs too much money. It does this and it does that and whatever. And in part, bearing in mind, I obviously own a prep center as well. In part, I do kind of agree with it. I do think when it comes to prep, that it is an area of the business that you should learn how to do yourself, definitely. I've always said with online arbitrage, with retail arbitrage in particular, it is the business model on Amazon that exposes you to the most elements. You learn the most being an arbitrage seller, as opposed to the most about selling on Amazon. You learn the most about that. And one of the biggest learning curves is the shipment side of it, is learning how to prep and learning all the report side of it and reconciliations and all this.
Exactly.
All these different sides of it.
Even just down to the point now, sorry, it's where I was sending my first pallet, I knew the products because of the whole replenishable system that I run, so I know everything off by heart, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I could almost guide him through what I require for those products exactly down to the little tiny detail, so that he can basically follow on from what I do. But anyone else that might rush into it wouldn't have a clue what it even really looks like, or they wouldn't. And it's just, and those things there's certain things that just for example, a lot of the products I get, they have a little sticker that sort of just locks down the packet, and a lot, maybe 1 in 5 will be loose. And when I mean loose, I don't mean it's it's literally just not stuck down properly because it hasn't had time to go down. But if a customer receives that, and I've had it before, they do sometimes say that it's actually, it looks like it's been opened, even though the actual packet isn't open inside the box. The box to them looks like it's open. It's just a little, and that could cost you a unit just because it's not. And so all those little things, I just think if you master it first, worst case, if you have to do it yourself again, you know how to, and you're able to help facilitate. And so I should have a positive improvement in terms of I should have less returns or less, this and that, less damaged products, whatever it is, because of that whole process. Where others, not only they might be rushing into it, but they also may be also having more losses in terms of that area as well. So it's now so I sort of not only sort of compounded a lot of that money that I've saved, I'm also now saving even more by being a master at it and able to pass that on for the prep guy.
Definitely. And I think, when you become a new seller, you are more prone to make mistakes to start with, obviously. And, the prep side of it, is probably one of the more complex sides of it. So, you know, definitely I do recommend, you know, doing prep yourself to start with, but then it will come a point in your business. And this is what I was going to follow on and say. It will come a point in your business where actually, you know, and people say, oh, prep yourself, it costs you too much money. But it does get to the point in a business, and you'll be a really interesting case study, because not for me, but I mean for yourself, because I know you will share the journey with everyone through YouTube, is that it gets to the point where doing the prep yourself is probably costing you way more money than it's by not doing it yourself, if that makes sense, by outsourcing it. And generally, it's the point where I think people see the biggest, you know, scale. And I genuinely believe in a year's time, you're going to look back at this moment, at this week, and you're going to be, wow, you know, this has made such a huge difference in my business. It allows you just to do so much more in your business. But guys, you know, for anyone that's watching, it has to be at the right time in your business. You know, it doesn't have to be from day one. It doesn't have to be from 6 months. Luke's 4 years in, you know, at the end of the day.
First, you know, I did try a prep center like in my first year or second year, but it was if I was spending £1,000, could I have spent that grand to make £1,500 in the following month? So now I'm not only spending £1,000 on prep, but I'm losing that £500 profit next month. And if you extrapolate that over like a year, what is the total loss for something that I could have done? Because obviously my units were at a point where it might only be half a day, or it might be a whole Saturday or a whole Sunday and 3 evenings a week. But you're saving, you know, and that accumulative saving or gain or whatever you want to, you know, whichever way you look at it, was like, well, then I could have used that money again in my second year to then make, imagine the Q4 that I could have. That was the sort of mindset. So I did switch to the sort of where obviously, imagine me like last month, I switched to that stance because of the position where I knew I could get to say now where I've obviously accrued all that extra capital over the years, and now I'm at a position where I need to flip the mindset, because the capital isn't the thing that I need to make more money, because there's money in the bank that isn't going to make any more money next month, because, well, unless I try my hardest to spend it all, but
unless it gets spent.
I can't do that. I probably won't, you know, even if I don't know, but you get what I'm trying to say. So now I'm thinking I need to spend it, but I can't spend it because I'm actually prepping. Yeah. But it does come, you know, it does switch all the time as well. So it might be that I come back from going away and then I do a couple of months of prep for myself. You know, there's no like, as long as it's the bigger picture I'm still thinking of, that's sort of okay.
Yeah. And you've said that to me a couple of times, that you're always prepared to take it back to basics if you have to, if you feel that it's the right part for your business. I mean, I hate prep. If I never prepped another item for the rest of my life, you know, I'd be totally happy. But it's something that it has to be right at the right time of your business, and it's enabled you to do what you want to be able to do, which is to go abroad, obviously, and to be able to live the kind of laptop lifestyle. But you've had a few questions, so I think Terry asked the first one, so I'll let you answer those anyway.
Let's have a look. Let me actually just grab I'll look on the screen here. So what you're going to do with all this free time, Luke? I bet it adds much more value to your business. So at the moment, I've got so many leads that are like either unavailable, as in no one's selling them on Amazon, or I'm not selling them. So it's like, it's not only a potentially great listing to go on because no one's selling it, and I'll be the only seller. And there's like at least 10 I found, like just because I was checking today on some stuff. I found like 30 new replenishables and spent $3,000. And it's just like all those little things. Basically, the next couple of months, I just want to get my stock levels like really solid. And when I say solid, I want to overstock is the way I'm going to do it. Not because, you know, as long as I can. So, you know, obviously if there's expiry dates, that kind of thing, I can't be like, I'm going to get a year's worth because it's not realistic. But I want to be in a position where I'm able to offset any potential shortages in stock, because, you know, you sometimes find a great product that you think is a replenishable, and I'm like, yeah, great, let's buy 40. And there's always one time, sometime in the year, I'm like, I'm out of stock for 6 weeks, and like the price, you know, because it just there's like flake. I know it sounds silly, but flake chocolates, probably people can go find it now, but it's just because it annoys me every time I check, it was selling for like $9.99 at one point. I think it's gone down. It moves around. But
you mean like the ice cream flakes?
Yeah, and it was like it was always out of stock. And I found it like about 3 months ago. and it was in stock, and I could get like 99 of them or whatever it is. I was like, okay, great. That's
that
not doing it.
You can get 99.
But then sorry.
I was going to say, is that a pun? You can get 99 of them.
So I got 99, and I was like,
sorry,
because they're replenished. Oh, it's actually really hard to hear with one ear.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
I can't have to be quiet.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So that's what I'm doing. It's something shout too much. And yeah, it's only a replenishable, so it's not like making crazy money, but it's like that one plus, if I all these little missed ones over the years, if I had overstock of it, I offset any issue where it's now out of stock, and again it's now out of stock. So I've been out of stock for like a month, and I'm like, if I had the money, if I just bought an extra 500 units for 3 months, or these are very low value items as well. Like when I say 500, they might cost me like £4. Exactly. Yeah. It's actually it is a 99 flake.
Yeah, there we go.
It's a packet, wasn't it?
They didn't get it late. But I think with this business, do you not find that there is always a time in the business where there's always going to be a moment, no matter how much you buy, and this is something I say 100% in Q4, that you can never buy enough in Q4. You can never buy enough, obviously, just in this lockdown period.
But I was left with 100 Forkies last Christmas.
Do you know what? I actually feel a little bit responsible for the Forky thing, because I
sold them all now.
I talked about Forky in a post where I said Forky was going to be the hottest thing. And he was the hottest thing. He was like a toy that everybody bought. It's just there was so much infinite stock of Forky. There was so much supply of it that the prices tanked totally. Whereas you could buy it from the Disney store, and you could buy it from Sainsbury's, and you could buy it from Smith's. There were so many different variations of Forky.
Yeah, there was. Yeah.
Yeah, there was no issue in getting him, so it wasn't an issue. So I hold my hand up and say, yeah, but I sold all of mine. So
yeah, I taught them about last month or something. I had to just make it. I was like, I just get it gone, not crash the price, but just keep. I had so many. If I only had like 10, I would have just left them. But I had like 90 something, and I was like, it was just it was like £1.50 tied up or something. Yeah, I might take like a £2 loss on every unit, but I was like, I'd rather have a grand. I'd rather have. This wasn't now. This was sort of I planned this in January.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. We'll lead on to that in a moment, but I just want to answer some of these questions before we kind of move on. We've had loads more people join us. Evening, everybody. So Sean says, will there be a beach where you're moving, Luke?
I mean, I can find a beach. I'm pretty sure most places have a beach. Some you can just get sand and that. I think it actually does have a. So it's Lithuania. I'm going. There is actually if you go to like one of the cities, there is actually a beach. It's like on the sea, basically. It's a seaside resort, but it is like 2.5 hours, I think, from where I am. I've never been there, but I'm sure I'll go. But it's not where I exactly am. But yeah,
you've definitely got to go there, and you've definitely got to get the picture of you sat on the beach living the laptop lifestyle. Definitely.
I have to go like in August because it's going to be like snowing after.
yeah, definitely. So Callum said his first shipment to a prep centre today. Well done, Callum. Had to go that route. A supplier only delivered pallets, and I had nowhere to store them. 600 plus units to Polybag. It makes sense to go to a prep centre. Absolutely. We're not saying that. As I said at the very, very start, it's an individual decision, and it has to be right for your business, and you'll know the right time to be able to, that you need to take that step to be able to do it. And the thought of polybagging, 600 items I just wouldn't do it. I'd
also say, definitely with the prep center, the more that you send in, the cheaper it usually is. They can give you a discount. So you can actually that if you just do 100, I'd say probably not. You're not going to make, because you got to cover your expenses pretty much. And if you're not at least doing that, then obviously that's an expense. Then there's sort of various things, and if they're VAT registered and you're not, you're paying the VAT for those services, and other VAT registered sellers claim back the VAT. So you have disadvantages there, and there's lots of different things, which promotes a larger seller actually making lots more money on the same items that a standard seller could sell. If you were trying to do a comparison of when was right, as an idea, but yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So Sean says, if you use a prep center, how will you know expiry dates on your grocery products? Well, I'll answer this one from my point of view. From obviously our place point of view is we put them on the sheet and we let you know.
Same for me. The guy takes photos of things and whatever I want beforehand. Like if I tell him what I'm expecting of him, he'll do it basically. So yeah, that's cool.
So yeah, everyone got my 99 joke apart from you, Luke. But no, it's all there. So let's talk about what's been kind of going on this week especially. So we've seen quite a lot of, kind of, I'm not going to say fear mongering or anything like that because I feel that's a bit harsh. But seen a lot of people in the groups. There's been a lot of posts about sales being down, and as to the reason why sales might be down. And sales are definitely down. There's no doubt about that. I think in particular there was a lot of panic at the disco yesterday. But I'm not sure a lot of people realised that there was actually an issue with Amazon reporting sales yesterday. So you said it yourself. You got up to about 7, 8 o'clock, something like that.
Yeah,
and then
it was like £185. So people, you think that I'm doing, I don't know, I do thousands, but not always. It was obviously at the end of the day, it was a bit higher, but it was just like, well, it couldn't have been correct. Huh?
Yeah, I wasn't too affected, to be perfectly honest. I just had a really slow
day yesterday. Like I was saying earlier, like any one day, I actually want a 0 sales day. If I ever had that, I'd post it and I'd be like happy. I'd actually be like, it would be, because if I had it, everyone would just be like, oh, and like it's almost like I'm doing it for a reason, of course, just to show. But like, if you've got 365 days, any one day could do anything. It's like when new people start selling, that you'll see on, they post a photo of their graph and it'll be like £200, but all the other days are like 40, and it's like, well, yeah, it's a great day, but you really want to be able to basically see what you're doing is impacting the graph in a sort of analytical way, meaning you are able to plot a trend or a rough trend depending on paydays are obviously going to be like, so it'll probably go up, all the cameras there, up a bit and then down a bit on paydays, but over the month you'll be able to build up a better picture, and that will put you in the position to be able to predict better for the future rather than having these sort of very erratic spikes.
Yeah.
So in a way you almost don't want it, but that's just me going off.
And you get that from the compounding effect of especially doing replenishables. It's building that stability and that foundation to your business. And I always say to people that I either coach or or talk to about, they get really excited about having a one-off day. So when I set goals with people, I always say, right, okay, let's discuss it together. And one of the obvious ones is your first £100 day. But then I don't say to them once they've achieved their £100 day, I won't say to them, right, let's go for a £200 day. My next goal that I'll say to them is, right, we need to get to 100 every day now. Because it's more about, and it's more important.
You need it because you need to be able to see that you're able to do that day. It's more like, because you also don't believe it's possible as a person in his boxers in his bedroom or whatever. There's certain and it's like, you don't like, but can I really? This guy just doing a couple of things on it, do £1,000 a day or whatever you're trying to get, a £500 day or whatever. And it's like when you see that, you're like, okay, well now what's possible? Yeah. Every time I do it, I think my best day was like, well, either now recently or Q4 was like, is it 6.5 or 7 or I don't know. It wasn't 10. Basically, my eyes like, I could do 10. But now I've seen that. I'm like, well, it's not. I assume need like 30% more now. I'm not £10,000 a day. Yeah, that would be one day, but it's more like that kind of thing.
I don't know about you, but Amazon still amazes me. It still amazes me now when things like that happen, and because even though it's possible and it can happen, then you take that next step, and it's like, and that happens with what you're doing now, Luke. That happens with the step that you're taking now. So, those days become more regular and they become more consistent because of the, you're not having the time being taken up by the prep center. But anyway, I don't want to go back to talking about the prep center. I want to talk about sales. So yes, Sean said, when do we think sales are going to pick back up? So there's definitely been an impact on sales I'd say it's been coming for a couple of weeks, something like that. Now, what I wanted to talk about in particular is to the reasons why. Now, obviously, this is just pure speculation. This is just pure speculation. We don't know the reasons why. But when I started seeing the posts, and I did answer on a few of them, I think I answered one in your group and one in Vlad's group and, you know, one in Secret Wealth, where I was saying, okay, the first thing we've got to think about, like I said, I can literally think about 10 reasons why sales might be slow at the moment. But the first one that jumps into my mind at the moment is we're coming into the quietest months of the year. You know, that's the way that I see it. June, July, August are always going to be the quietest months of the year. So that's the first thing I think of, is we're coming into the quietest months of the year. Now, at the same time, I'm talking about from a normal point of view. And believe me when I say, well, you guys know this anyway, that there's been nothing normal about this year so far. You know, it's been a
January.
Yeah, it's been apart from January, yeah, maybe. But even January was busier than I thought it was going to be. But I've kind of
happened back then.
Well, I was just about to say January is pre-COVID, so anything that happened before COVID, I'm like struggling to remember.
I went to Malta. I've actually been on holiday twice this year. So I've never been away twice in like a year, 4 years. And it happens to
and then you did that because you had a really good Q4. But yeah, there's nothing normal. Oh, whoops, chucked something off my desk. There's nothing normal about anything that's going on, but we can only refer to things because normality is starting to ensue a little bit now. It is starting to kick in. So there has got to come a point where we look at everything that's going on at the moment and we can start to see life returning to normal a little bit. Every time I go out, there's more people out. Every time I go to the shop, there seems to be more people there. When I'm driving down the road, there's more cars. I actually sat in a traffic jam for the first time in about 3 months the other day because there's more cars on the road. So that's one of the main, you know, for like normal time of the year. So more people are going out. The shops are starting to open up a little bit more. Yes, there's a percentage of people that have discovered Amazon for the first time, fallen in love with it, and are never going to go back. But overall, we're coming into the quietest or the quieter months of the year. But at the same time, life is starting to return to normal a little bit. But I would still make the argument that sales are higher now than they would be normally this time of the year anyway. Now, I know a lot of people are very frustrated with everything that's going on with price tanking a little bit at the moment. Now, we generally see price tanking in the biggest area, which in my opinion is toys. That's generally where we see the highest level of price tanking. So what's happening, I think, at the moment a little bit, I'm not saying it's purely isolated to toys. I'm not saying that at all. It applies to a lot of areas as well. We're coming into a period of time where we're going into the quietest period for toys, and but more sellers are kind of coming on board. So sales are slowing a little bit probably on toys, but there's more competition in toys being sold because they're quite readily available at the moment. But what will potentially, and I will say panic kicks in, when people see things are not selling as well as they thought they were going to, or a lot of competition comes off, that's when the price starts going down because it's an overstock of demand and supply, obviously. But what could happen at this period of time, and this always happens, by the way, everyone, this always happens this time of year. It's the period of time where Amazon sellers, especially if you've not experienced, this is your first year or possibly going into your second year, there's always a period of a lack of confidence in the model and what people are doing. It's like, I call it the Amazon emotional roller coaster, where you have this massive peak of Q4, and then, for a few months afterwards, it's relatively good, but then you come out of it and you go into a quiet time and you think, what have I done? I've spent all my money on this stock and it's not selling, so I'm going to tank it, I'm going to sell it, I'm going to get my money back. Now, what I will also say as well, and it's quite kind of, I don't want this to come across the wrong way. Every year, we always get an influx of new sellers that start selling on Amazon. And some people, I don't know the percentage of the amount of sellers that start selling on Amazon and then quit or give up for, whatever reason. most people will experience a Q4, but there will become a time in their Amazon selling journey where they give up because they experience this period of price tanking or high levels of competition, or they get loads of refunds, or they get suspended. For whatever reason, they give up. But generally, it comes down to sales, and it comes down to price tanking, it comes all these things. And normally, that period of time, in my opinion, occurs sometime between February, March to August. If people quit, I think that's generally the period of time that they do it, because there's a lack of sales and, you know, less sales and less deals as well during that period of time. But what's happened this year is there's been no downtime, you know, unless you didn't sell during this period of time whatsoever. But there's been no downtime, and people have made quite a bit of money. People have been having really high sales. So possibly some people, and this might be a skeptical look or way to look at it, but possibly some people that might have normally quit during this period of time have continued on because they've had, you know, banner sales. And what that has happened now is it possibly has brought up a higher level of competition, going into the world returning to normal, and a higher level of saturation. And then those inexperienced sellers who don't have as much experience to know that the price could recover at some point have started to panic and push the price down. But that's just my 2 cents on it.
And the way that I saw it, or the way I've seen it and thought about it anyway, and this maybe this is by chance, but I don't like luck, but I don't believe in it. So I wouldn't think it. Well, like, you know, it happens too often for like little things, but it's just like, to me, we've had 3 great months. Well, for me, it was 3 months of, was it March, April, May? Yeah. Obviously, like some of the months were better than others, but overall, those 3 months were far higher than what they would ever have been if we just sort of were just, you know, a normal year. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, that was like a Q4 in itself, or better. Like it was like 3 Decembers in one to me. 3 Decembers 3 times, whatever you want. You want to call it. So like so in recent times, I've had 4 Q4s. When I think of Q4, I really mean sort of that little period at the end where you do crazy, you know, even though it's going to be October, but it's not. So now so the way I then thought about it, so well, I've had 3. Even if I break even, knowing that we're going into the summer months, which are always about a bit weird and everyone's outside and all that kind of thing. Even if I break even for 3 months, so that's literally what I've gone into these 3 months. So June, July, and August. Consider I also have outsourced the prep, so obviously that has to be paid for. So in my head, I'm like, well, break even. Oh crap! And it could be anything. I don't know what it would be. You know, next month I could have an amazing month because I am preparing this month with the whole prep service and everything. But I've gone, you know what? All that money that I've done, if I break even, I'm going to be in an amazing position for Q4. I'll be like in a double weighted position where I could have, in terms of stock and capital availability, than I would have been if it was just a normal year. So I'm thinking, 3 months of break evens, not amazing, but in terms of amazing of preparing for the next phase, which will be Q4. Because normally you would wait, in my mind, quite a lot of the year for Q4, or you're preparing for Q4, but you're able to have like a little bit of a booster session. You know, you might take a little bit of a cheeky bonus for yourself. Who knows? You know, you can't really go anywhere, but, you know, get a cheeky takeaway or whatever it is. Anyway, then you can like plan, even if you just break even, it doesn't matter because you've made decent money already. And now you've got Q4 to prepare for. And if you prepare for it right, not thinking, oh, my sales are going down or all this sort of thing. Like, I don't even really care what my sales are at the moment because I'm not worried about the summer months. That's not, you know, if I have a good month by chance or by it ends up being good, great. That's just an extra bonus I'll add with the rest. So every month that I do better than expected, or, you know, and when I say expected, I mean what I thought I would do as, you know, in a general year, not what I currently think this month should now be, because everyone's got inflated thoughts and prices. It's like, you know, what did I do this time last year? Or, okay, add a little bit more on. And I'm thinking, like, I'm going to have a great Q4. That's the mindset I'm going into. With the amount of stock levels I'm going to have, I don't care if I break even for 3 months. Because the amount of stock that I have after I've done everything would be amazing, and then it would only be far greater of a Q4 than it would have been just in a standard year. Boom.
Definitely, yeah, and that's the point I wanted to make, and you put it really eloquently, is that For those, and it's harder for new sellers, so if you've not experienced this time before already, this is going to be a harder task for you. For those that have been selling for more than a year, you can't compare sales now to what they were last week. You can't compare what the sales were last week to what they were last month, purely because we've been in such an unprecedented time. You need to, now that we're heading back into a period of normality, which it is happening, then you need to compare the sales that you're having this week, which the area that we've experienced, a bit of a slowdown on the last couple of weeks. You need to compare that to this time last year. You need to compare that outside of this extraordinary situation, which is not going to be the norm moving forward. Now, we are returning to normal, but it's a new normal. So there is a higher level of sales at the moment than ordinarily there would be this time last year. But we're also going into a season change as well, which means people's buying and shopping habits change. So if you are selling a lot of, kind of confectionery products or something like that, then people don't really buy that as much going into the summer months. People tend to change their shopping habits at this time of year. Your health and personal care stuff, your essential goods, shopping habits don't really change throughout the year for that. It stays pretty consistent. But people don't really buy toys as much on Amazon in the summer as they do in the other months. Now, of course, people always have birthdays. Yes, it's going to be a little bit more heightened this time of year because less people are going to be going to the shops, and there's no doubt about that. And more people are going to be scared of going to the shops because of, there is COVID is still out there and, it's still happening. It's not going anywhere. But if you're going to compare it to anything, you can't compare it to last month because we've been having skewed sales figures. You've got to compare it to the same period last year. Harder, obviously, for the people that haven't been selling last year, but it's why I wanted to talk about it tonight, to kind of reassure people that, what's happening, we could be just entering back into the new kind of norm. Now, the other side of it, there's a few other reasons why it could happen. People are returning to purchasing their goods in person as opposed to more shopping online. That's probably having a little bit of an impact. Now, one of the things I've seen kind of being bandied around is that there has been a buy box change for the product, for certain products. Now, what this buy box change is that Amazon is on certain ASINs. It's giving people the opportunity to purchase from whomever they want on the sellers list if there's somebody cheaper than who has the buy box. So it's not buy box suppression. So this is something different. So it's not saying that the buy box doesn't show. The buy box shows as normal, but when you go add to basket, then there's a little notice under it that says buy this cheaper, and that will take you, or you can buy this cheaper, and that can potentially take the customer to a list of sellers, and they can see that maybe there's like a merchant fulfilled seller that's selling it £3 cheaper or something like that. So there's no buy box suppression. It's just giving the Amazon customer the opportunity to buy it cheaper. And I've seen a lot of people say, okay, the slowdown sales is because of that. Well, one, at the moment, it looks like that is only appearing on anywhere between 25% of ASINs and a third. So if you think about it, it can't apply to every single ASIN because whoever's holding the buy box might be the cheapest. So it's only going to appear when there is a lower seller. And I think a lot of people have been saying, well, if the merchant fulfilled's lower, you've still got to take into account, which we don't know yet, if somebody has selected Prime only, then there's a good chance they're not going to select it, a merchant fulfilled person, because they want it delivered the next day anyway. And then finally, my point on it, in my experience of, I look a lot into buyer kind of psychology. Amazon is set up psychologically in a way to make people purchase. That's what it's done. And if you are a regular Amazon buyer, then you are so in tune with a routine of buying. I would bet my bottom dollar that even if this is showed to 100 people, you probably only have about 10 people that would notice it because you become blind. It's like when you don't see advertising, you become ad blind to certain things. So I think even if it is being shown to people, I think consciously people wouldn't recognize it anyway. I would. I'd probably recognize it because I think cheap. Oh, yeah, I'll go for that. But that's because, you know, I'm a bit of a bargain hunter. But essentially, that is not what is causing this slowdown in sales at the moment. That is not what is what it could be doing. Sorry, Luke, I'll let you talk in a minute. What it could be doing psychologically, by people posting this in Facebook groups, it could be causing a bit of a panic to buyers, who in turn could be pushing prices down because they think I've got to be the cheapest, otherwise someone's not going to buy my product. So that, I suspect that's having a more effect on pricing and price tanking than, you know, than the other option.
But as well, like over the last how many years, how many things have Amazon changed, tweets, moved, and changed? And it never really does anything over at the end, you know. There's just little changes now and then. Sometimes they're more annoying than anything, is what I found. Like, but there's nothing that's ever happened that I've thought that could. There was the one thing that happened where it was like some of the cheaper items had suppressions in the buy box.
Yeah. Like
about a year ago, or maybe a year and a half ago, like, and it was just, and it was a bit annoying. You know, it might have been like 6%, 8% of my stock, which was like, you know, 15 ASINs. But now I've checked them and they're back again. They're fine. Or they have been fine for a little while. I've just not, you know, I've come across them late to the party again. And it's like, you know, a couple of other things that have happened on product pages where you're able to, like, you know, do little tricks to help for replenishables. Those areas have come back again after time. You know, a lot of it is just them trying things out. I don't obviously know the reason, but they always normally either reverse it back completely or in part, and it never really has the effect that anyone actually sort of. You kind of know the people that are more experienced and people that aren't. It's because the people that are more experienced don't even really care. Like, when I say care, I mean obviously there's some sort of element to care in it. But I look at these things and I don't. I'm like, okay, cool, like, you know. And only if I made, like, you know, I seriously saw an issue and it was consecutively over weeks, not like days, but weeks and weeks and weeks, I would start looking into everything a bit more. And even then, it could just be a seasonal product. It could be even something down to my inventory, my repricing. You know, there's lots of other aspects as well which you could relate to.
Yeah, definitely. There's so many different variables. And you know what? A little bit, and I went and did it today, actually, was in this kind of period of time, because we talked about this a few days ago, actually. I think you said you were kicking yourself over a product that you sold, and you should have waited a little bit longer because the price had gone up.
Yeah.
And, you know, so what tends to happen during these periods of time, and again, I don't want it to sound like tonight we're bashing on the new sellers, because we're absolutely not. Everyone's got to learn. It's like learning to drive. It's like going up someone's backside when they're learning to drive. You know, you were a learner driver once. You know, I don't want to
really annoyed with the learner drivers after.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone gets annoyed with learners afterwards, and I don't want anyone to think that. We're just talking from an experience point of view, and we're just talking about some of the things to be able to look for and to kind of keep calm and carry on, for want of a better phrase. But for periods of time like this, one of the things, I don't always do it, but I did go in and do it today. I raised my prices. I'm not interested in getting involved in penny wars. I'm not interested in, you know, fighting, you know, for the bottom. Like I said, if I didn't, you know, if I broke even or whatever for the next couple of months, obviously a more experienced seller has got the position to do this. You know, I'm not necessarily encouraging everyone to do this. But what can happen is, and I suspect will happen, is that all of the penny under crew will sell out, and then everyone that's left afterwards will experience amazing profits. And it's something that is proved time and time again. I put sales graphs up in the group. I talk about price recovery. It's very rare price recovery doesn't exist. There are occasions where the price never recovers, but that's generally down to Amazon coming on the listing, or it's a trend, the product's a trend, or something like that. But price recovery generally exists. Now, yes, we're coming into the quieter period of months at the moment, we are, but sales are still higher than they would be normally this time of year because of COVID, and that is the level of that is going to continue moving forward, certainly up until Q4. So normally, when you see saturation on a product possibly could take 3, 4, 5, 6 months to recover in price, especially going into the quieter months. Any time price tanking occurs after about July or August, I'm not really bothered because I know it's definitely going to sell in Q4. You know,
I think
that's the way I kind of look at
I'm
it.
already thinking about that now a little bit as well. I'm like, well, if I, I'm like, if I got that and I had, and something, it went back a little bit sort of more stable, because at the moment some items aren't 100% stable yet.
Yeah.
What if it did? Could I sell it in Q4? This sort of already the thought process I'm going through.
Definitely 100%. I said it to someone today in a message. Someone asked me about if they should sell a certain type of product, and my reply is, well, at least it will sell in Q4 now. So that mentality starts kicking in. But ordinarily, you might see price recovery take a little bit longer. But as sales are slightly heightened at the moment, and as people drive down the price even further, because driving the price down can most definitely increase sales velocity, then I've got my crystal ball out, and my prediction is that you will start to see price recovery occur even quicker than it would over this period of time. And you could be looking at, a very short period of time that you have to sit on that product. So personally, I've taken it to sit. I put all my pricing up at the moment because I'm not, I'm quite happy to sit on stuff for a while, because I know it will sell eventually and it will sell very well. But obviously, if cash flow is an issue, you can't do that, and I get it.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of different tactics in there. Like, you actually do almost, I don't know how much of a percentage difference there is in how you do things to me. Even though we do very similar things, there's tactics involved are different, and also and there's no right answer, and you can just sort of
there isn't.
Hybrid the two. I do both. I basically I could even go as far as okay, I have 600 in stock. Well, if I bring the price down, this is things that I think. So I bring the price down, and I still make 30% instead of 40%. I'll sell 300 at the lower price. I'll not only bring the ranking of the product down, get rid of some sellers, and then I can raise the price as I get towards the back end of my stock, meaning it's still in the hundreds. But knowing that I could potentially get resupplied with them, all these little elements for me, and so in theory, on some products, I could be really, really competitively low price if I can restock. That's an example. Keep restocking forever, what I believe could be a long time. Or on other products, I will keep them high if I have the cash flow, because I don't need to sell them now. So I sort of do a bit of both. You sort of pretty much stick to the top end, don't you? The higher priced products, but the right way as well. Or you can do the hybrid of the product, the hybrid of the pricing strategies, depending on exactly the position you're in at that time, depending on the item.
And it is. And don't get me wrong, I do join the tanking crew every now and again, but there's a reason I join the tanking crew. It's not out of fear. It's not out of desperation. I join it maybe because it was a bad buy and I need to get rid of it. It's coming up to long-term storage fees or something like that. Guys, just to let you know, everyone still makes bad buys, even if when you've been doing it 3, 4, 5 years, it still happens. There's just less of them, obviously, because you've got more experience. But I think I think my favorite selling model, definitely, and not everyone's in the position to be able to do this. But just talking about how we do things differently. Before I took a break from selling for personal circumstances, my favorite model was to get about 3 months behind everyone else, to get into that cycle of being 3 months behind everyone else. And sometimes you go through periods of time when you're coming into the summer where I would stop buying and wait for the period to catch up a little bit. But this year, there's been no opportunity to get 3 months behind. It's just been impossible. Stock's been selling out ridiculously. So now we're coming into this little bit of a slowdown period. I can see the next 3 months, certainly from my point of view, an opportunity for me to be able to put into effect my favorite selling model of being 3 months behind. But the difference is, normally over this period of time, I might not continue to buy, but I'm still continuing to buy now because I've got the option to store those particular products. Now, I know, there could be 15 people watching this going, you're mad, you could flip your money, 5 times during that time or whatever. But as Luke quite rightly says, I do like to sit at the top end. If there's 20 sales on a product, there's a good chance I'm sat at number 17, 18, 19 or 20 or something like that. I don't like to get involved in scuffles at the bottom, to be perfectly honest. But there is no right or wrong way.
Is that your name? I'm joking. It's a joke. I said, Cookie Marvelous, is that your name?
No, that's definitely not me. 100%.
They're merchant fulfilled anyway, so don't worry about that.
Yeah, no, they do like, what's the word? It's like a hybrid of drop shipping.
I think you sort of you briefly went over it, yeah.
Yeah, they do like a hybrid of drop shipping. So they sell it, they put a long date on it, and then I think someone goes to the supermarket and buy it. There are so many different models, and you've just got to explore different things for selling on Amazon, and you've got to suit what, you've got to recognize what suits you essentially. And you'll find that out generally. When would you say, Luke, that you discovered what worked for you?
After a year of doing everything I could and there was nothing left to do, and I thought, I haven't made any money for a year. Huh. Well, I guess I better do something about that.
So did you go back and did you look at the things?
I trialed everything. And I used to try to think, well, what is the cost? So the cost is £100. Does it bring me at least obviously that in profit? But if I only gain £1,000 in sales from £100 cost, if I could spend £50 on something equivalent, but I can do £800 in sales, it's better to go for that option in some aspects, depending on obviously like it's to do with like cash flow or something, because the return is basically closer to the same number but half the cost. That sounds really, really complicated what I just said, but the expense is half the cost, but it's not, you're not just making half the profit. And if you refine those, or if you just like tweak them, so like I refined those knowing, okay, when January, February, March come, I know what to do because I'm more worried about not losing money. This is right at the beginning, so after my first year, I had to obviously consider how to tackle it. I don't want, my first thing is don't lose money. So what should I focus on? It was these expenses because they give me the most profit or sales or whatever you want to both, let's say profit in this instance, for the least cost. And then I yo-yo the expenses depending on the season. And obviously as I've grown, I've now, nothing's the same, but that sort of should happen. You should all, every year I always do something different to the previous, or just a more advanced complex version. And but for my first year, I found it actually quite vital that I tried everything, even a prep center, and realized actually I'm making no money using the prep center and stop that. Then this isn't really it's finding me some deals like, FBA Wizard or something, but it's not finding me enough. It's not really worth the subscription because, it's taking me up to day 10 to pay off all my expenses. Then I'm only making, 20 days of profit. And I was trying to eke that down so that from day one I was making profit, or from 6 hours into the day after like a little bit of sales, I was already making profit, which gave me positive momentum and all that kind of thing. I don't know what you actually ask anymore. I'm sort of just going off on one, but.
No, it was when you made that change and when you decided what was going to work for you. And do you know what? If you did ask me,
it's more just trial and error, and then I refined.
Yeah, I would say it is about a year. I think you have to see a full cycle of Amazon, and you have
full Q4. And I mean not just doing a Q4. It's like preparing, or what you think preparing is, because what you think preparing for Q4 is on your first one is terrible. Is what I would roughly say, even with as much input to what a Q4 could be. And the only saving grace for everyone's saying that sales are down, is that you've basically just seen what will happen again. It may not be higher, but it will be at least the same, because that is what you've just seen is a standard Q4.
Yeah.
And then things just flying off the shelf. You don't know why, they just are. And it's just,
I
can't say what is going to happen, all that kind of thing. But
I'm going to disagree with you there, Luke. I don't think that was a Q4. I think that was a Q4 on steroids.
Okay, well, I'm just.
Yeah,
it wasn't the same items, and it wasn't all that kind of thing. But basically, showing you the potential if the right circumstances present themselves, which usually a Q4 is the right circumstances presenting themselves.
And that's definitely what I was referring to earlier when I was talking about the sellers that maybe might normally quit during this period of time because they experienced possibly the back end of the Q4. They didn't experience it in its entirety or something like that. So they didn't really see the power of Amazon. talking about, we're 6 months into the year now, 6 months to go. And the rest of that 6 months, there's a Q4. There's a Q4 in that 6 months. And I hate to be the one to say it as well. There could also, in reality, and this isn't me, scaremongering or anything like that, there could be a second wave of COVID-19 as well in that period of time.
Could be for Q4 as well or something as well. The winter months. So.
Yeah, that's what I mean. There genuinely could be, November time is when flu season starts. Now, by the way, I don't want that to happen. I would hate for that to happen because obviously if there's a second wave. Pardon?
Wave. I said we are not promoting a second wave.
No, I'm totally not promoting a second wave. No. But if
I'm just making myself laugh.
Yeah. No. I'm definitely not, and I don't want it to happen because if it does happen, it means people are going to lose their lives, and we don't want that to happen. I'm quite happy with the standard Q4, but the Q4 that we're going to be going into is technically could be a COVID Q4, which we've experienced. What is probably a bit of a high. We've had a Q. So in this selling cycle of a year, people would have experienced a Q4, a Corona, which is like a Q4 on steroids. Then they're probably going to experience a COVID Q4 as well. So within the cycle of a year, there's 9 months out of that year for Q4-like sales.
You can maximize from what you would normally maximize is you could basically you can get to where I am in like 2 years. Okay, that must sound like I'm trying to say you look at me, but you kind of get what I mean. Like, I spent many years trying to get here and I wasted a year. Well, when I say I wasted a year, I tried, where I didn't make any money and all that kind of thing. If I'd known better, if I'd had a bit of guidance, that's sort of where the group started from, to be honest. I was like, oh, better. There's not really the same guidance as there was for me. I was just like going blind. But now you're able to even like shave off at least 1 year from that. So it could be that within 2 years, this being year 1 and next year being year 2, you could, coming out that other side, you could be in a position where you could be looking at, if you wanted, doing like 500,000 plus in sales a year. I mean, obviously, there's so much variance in that, of course, depending on loads of factors. But that's the sort of level I could easily see people being able to get to in that space of time.
Yeah, absolutely. So tonight really has been mainly about, kind of just saying to people, for the people that have been asking about sales or the people that haven't asked about sales in a group but have, thought it, because I'm sure people have thought it, sales have gone down. Just to reassure everyone, there's so many different varying factors as to why the sales go down. And I will stand by, I think we're just going into a quieter period and people getting out and about more and people are spending more time with their family. The reason why July and August is normally so quiet is because people go on holiday. That's not going to happen this year, obviously. A lot of people are not going to be going on holiday, but you've also taken into account we are potentially going into an economic downturn as well. We haven't even discussed that side of it. So
I mean, this year could be great in terms of it's still there, but next year could be a whole new, whatever that's saying. I was going to figure out saying it didn't work.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we're coming into a period of time where during lockdown, do you remember those first few weeks of lockdown where everyone's having house parties, everyone's drinking, like not house parties with people, but like online, and everyone was enjoying it and everyone's like, this is great. Blah, blah, blah. I'm getting paid for being sat at home and I've been furloughed and I can do this. Now, the reality of it is people have started to be asked to go back to work. So party's over a little bit for a lot of people. But for those that are not being asked to go back to work, they might be getting the bad news that unfortunately they've lost their job. So that could be, I don't think that's why all of a sudden come Monday sales started to slow down, but that's also needs to be taken into account over the coming months as well. That could have an impact on what people are spending. But you have to start thinking about disposable income and the type of spending habits that people make. So over the next 3 months, are people going to be buying toys? Possibly not. Over the next 3 months, are people going to be buying luxury items? Possibly not. Are people going to be buying shampoos and conditioners? Yes, because they want clean hair. You know, are people going to be buying mustard? I know you like your mustard, Luke. You know, because they like it.
Yeah, German mustard.
Absolutely. It comes back to those essential items and doing what Luke kind of does and building this replenishable list. And you have to think outside the box, and you have to put your mindset into Amazon buyers sometimes point of view. So I would generally not be investing heavily in toys now unless you are prepared to sell them in Q4. And the reason, because you might be saying, okay, well, if people can't afford to buy toys now, why are they going to buy them in Q4? Well, the difference is because people, when it comes to Christmas, that's a different ball game. So we've all seen it, you know, when you get the hottest toy that people who haven't got the money are prepared to spend to give their child a special Christmas or something like that. That type of mentality kicks in Christmas, where people, even if they can't afford it, and rightly or wrongly, everybody's buying toys for them.
Like a mind, like if you can find a way to buy something at Christmas, people usually do.
Absolutely, 100%. They don't have that throughout the rest of the year, so that mentality doesn't kick in until about, you know, November time or whenever people are going to start buying toys for their kids. So if my kids said to me, "Mummy, I really want this toy now," and you know, if things are tough, I would say, "No, I can't get that for you now." But there's a difference when you see your kid writing it on, you know, a Santa letter, or you ask them for, you find a way to make it happen. That's essentially what I'm saying. So that's why it's different, and you've got to think about that and the type of products that you're sourcing for. So it goes back to also going shallow and wide. I know Luke and I have a very different stance on this. I
go wide.
Yeah, I know you go wide.
Maybe not shallow.
Product.
Maybe not shallow.
But again, there's no right or wrong answer. You know, you have to find what works for you. But personally, and I said about it in the Facebook post today, is if you go deep on a product, if you go really deep on a product, you spend your time worrying about it, and you spend your time looking at it and watching it and getting a little bit obsessed with it and thinking, why is the price not going up? Why is it not selling? Right, I better do this. And you mess around with it a little bit more. If you've invested, say, in 50 of that, because you're more financially invested, means you're more emotionally invested. If you've got 3 sat there, you're not going to be bothered about it so much, because you've only got 3, and those 3 are not going to break the bank. And if you spread that across a wide variety of products, then the chances are that not all of them are going to tank. The chances are that not all of them are going to be saturated. The chances are that, you know, you're hedging your bets, essentially. So, yes, I know Luke is very much a high volume person.
It's not everything, you know.
Yeah.
Like, it's the top. I have maybe 200 if I could be in everything, you know, 250 if I could be in everything, probably 200 because not everything's probably around now. And there might be 20, 15 that are those items. And there might be a couple which are the top items where I'm, you know, every day just being a little bit like, just a bit more attentive to. But it's not forever and ever. It's not like a non-stop product. There's always an end. You know, usually they have an end somehow. That's why. So it is a replenishable because it's there for a long time. But there is an end to it because it, for whatever reason. That's the sort of items I focus on, because it's more about coming out the back end when like I said, it's discontinued. How do I strategize from the day that I know that the product's now discontinued? But to do that, I've obviously got to know when it's discontinued. Mm-hmm. There's sort of far more advanced replenishable like the tactics I'd use. So if I had 600, I'd sell them down the bottom. But as soon as I saw that kind of thing, I would put myself at the very top and wait 3 months or wait or whatever. So, but that's why, because there's a lot, you know, those 600 units are making a $5 extra, you know, just because, or every day I'm selling like 60 or 50. That's a lot of £5 that you could potentially have just made extra if you had just realised a little earlier. But there's only normally a couple of ASINs that will be. It's not like it's going to be just everyday non-stop doing that.
And supply is a big point to make really here. So when I talked about being 3 months behind, when I talked about sitting and waiting on something, if there is a never-ending supply of that product, I'm going to get rid of that product. I'm going to sell that product and get as much profit as I can for it. But if the supply has finished, if that discount code has finished, if that I don't know, the 3 for 2's finished, if the buy one get one free is finished, if the offer is finished, or if the product has finished, if you can try and predict that, then that model works really well, because the demand has to end at some point, because it's not going, if everyone can still buy it at that price and the stock is still there, then price recovery is never going to occur, because there's a never ending, there's a never ending supply of that product. So too much supply and not enough, demand can equal those kind of situations. But yeah, I think that you have to really look at products individually, spend the time to look into them, get into the mindset of a buyer. But I certainly wouldn't be getting into the mindset of a buyer if I had products.
Sean's an absolute hero. Have you seen what he said?
What he said.
I didn't even have to actually see if it was Sean. I just sort of had.
Yeah, you can always tell Sean's comments. You don't need to see. So Sean says, me and Luke are going to fall out if he doesn't have a spare bed in Lithuania for a week's getaway. No, Luke, we ain't sharing a bed. What? No top and tail?
I remember top and tail back in the day.
Yeah, top and tail. It's the way to go, definitely. So I'm not sure. We haven't had loads of questions tonight, guys. So just before we go, if anyone's got any questions, please do let us know. So Matt's just said,
Okay.
Luke Duggan's like SWP's James Bond. Yeah.
Oh, is it because of this or something? I don't know.
With your hair.
What is it? I don't know. I'm just trying to find a correct,
I think it's more like International Man of Mystery, probably.
I'll take it. Anyway, I'll take it. Whatever it is. Whatever the reason.
The name's Duggan, Luke Duggan. There you go. You can start doing that on your YouTube.
No, it's actually Dugan. But I just never. My surname is Dugan.
Is it?
Surname. Yeah. But I just literally I gave up like 21 years ago or something, like correcting anyone's name. So yeah. The whole time I'll never bother actually correcting people.
So like literally, you've let me call you Duggan for about 3 years.
Yeah. Well, I probably have said at one point, but it probably
no, I really don't think you have.
But no, I just sort of, but also just so other people know as well, because like it's sort of one of those things that in school, even in school, it was all like I was like, what was Dugan? That'd be another one.
Dugan. Yeah, it's only because I knew a guy called Duggan, but then thinking about it, his name was he was Duggan. So I don't Duggan. I suppose that does make sense. So Dugan. So what's it?
My friend just says it's a posh way, and it's not true.
Well, now I'm not. Now that's not going to go out of my head. I'm going to call you Luke Dugan now.
What? Dugan.
Dugan. Okay. Luke Dugan.
It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. I'm not the name.
Dugan. LOL. That's it. Matt's put the right pronunciation. Dugan. Like Mrs. Bouquet. Definitely. Yeah, a couple of people that say Mrs. Bouquet. Oh, Luke, now the next time, if I don't get it right, everyone's going to rip it out of me for saying
you don't draw it out like Dug. It's like Dugan. Like you just, it's quick, sharp, snappy.
Okay, definitely. So Luke is going to be saving me gift cards at pubs. More food for me now. Yeah, that's sure. That's definitely so. Maybe you're the one pronouncing it wrong, Luke Dugan.
No, unfortunately not.
Is it Scottish?
Apparently it's like a mixture of French and Irish and
just a bit of a mix.
Yeah, something else. I don't know. Well, it doesn't really matter.
Well, we'll definitely learn something new every day.
I find myself by my name,
Yeah, definitely. I just quickly wanted to answer Corin's message before we go. So when I was talking about getting into a cycle of being 3 months behind, what I mean is not actually sending the goods in or possibly sending them in, but with the real prospect of knowing that they're not going to sell for that period of time, but continuing to buy. So by the time I start selling those products, it's 3 months down the line. So then once I hit that first level of 3 months, then I'm about 3 months behind all the other sellers. And then if I continue to buy, once I pass that 3 months, I'll be continually 3 months. Now, that's not for every product, obviously. At the end of the day, sorry, someone just said about an awkward silence. Hi, Terry. At the end of the day, that's not going to be for every product. No matter how hard you try and thinking, okay, well, that maybe is not going to sell for 6 months. For 3 months, you'll send a product in and you put it sky high and it'll sell, or it'll sell in Europe or something like that. So not every single product is going to be 3 months behind, but it's about having the mindset of knowing that it could potentially take that period of time to sell.
Another thing I do with that as well is like a hybrid model that you could adapt to that, is that if you've got enough capital for now and in the future, so in theory you would be doing 3 months, but if you also have enough to buy for now in terms of sales, I normally take an average accumulated total. So I'll basically sell all these at the first 3 months at $9.99. But I know that it will probably be $14.99 for the later on period, the last 3 months, or even if you wanted to extend that to 9 months, or I wouldn't say more than a year, that'd be a bit silly. But and then therefore you could take the accumulative average of those two, and that's sort of a very similar thing to what I do. I'll try to make sure I cover my deal flow so that all the deals that are now falling off, I'm still able to keep in stock for let's say some of them are 3 months it takes to get back onto a deal. I'll cover myself for that so that I can over time raise the prices. Like, month 2, it's already gone up a bit more. And by month 3, I'm obviously at higher, but then I'll look at it as an average. And I'll usually look at, if I'm doing like a quarter or a month analysis, I'll then just take the average price. Very similar to what you said, but it's just obviously looking to sell it at the beginning as well and having enough for the later period.
Yeah, definitely. And it's about knowing your inventory as well. Like, one thing I would say we're very similar on, I know my inventory. I know what something should sell at. I know at what point it should sell. I know when it should sell. And if it's not selling, it's almost like having a mental inventory kind of checker in your head. And, I'll often sit there and I think, do you know what, that went in? That should be selling now. And it's because I know my inventory and I do so much research into when it should sell and what, where, when, why, of the product. But again, not everybody can do that, of course. So, but what tonight was about, obviously finding out about Luke's big change in his business, but was just really to reassure people that, guys, the sky is not falling in on Amazon at the end of the day. It's not, panic, give up. Should I have started this? Kick yourself. It's still going to be a better year than anyone could ever have anticipated going into the start of 2020. And like I said, if you're going to compare it to anything, compare it to your figures last year, this time last year. Don't compare it to this time last month, because it's not a fair comparison at all.
And I guess that's the only thing, is anyone that's coming into it a little bit fresher or newer, they don't know what normal is this whole year. Maybe they saw it in January, but even then it's an unknown because they're probably just starting out and it's a bit of a, hard place to analyze. And it's like, if I'd say out of everything, take that, whatever you've made, and even if you just started out, you made a couple £100, or you made 40 quid, £1,000, whatever it is, it would have been far greater then than it would have been any other time. So just use that, and don't you think, I'll spend it all, that's a bonus. Oh, well, you can do, it's up to you. But I would say take that and compound it down, and worst case, break even for 3 months and use all that money that you've made for Q4, and then it would be like almost like a double bumper package for you. But that's just something that in hindsight, I sort of know. And there are many people that will just obviously do what they like, but it's more about, it is hard for those people thinking, it's going down. But actually, if you zoom out and look at like a 3-year like cycle from this year, next, and the previous or whatever you've got, you'll start to put it into a bit more of a context. But at the moment, it's very difficult to sort of analyze it in that way. That's what I would say is like me doing it a little bit more, like, me doing it for like 4 or so years. That's the way I actually am looking at it, where others might not.
And I don't think many big businesses, obviously these not small businesses compared to most, but nobody looks at it. Or yes, you'll have people that are looking at sales figures on a week by week basis, but they're looking at them more to, be able to recognize trends or for marketing reasons or whatever. There's no big business out there, or any business that's got to a good level and is saying, do you know what? this time yesterday at 4 p.m. we're 20% down. They look as the year as a whole. That's what they look at it as. That's why you have profit and loss. That's why you have this and you have that, because you're going to have natural peaks and troughs throughout the year. Some months are going to be, some months are going to be busier than others. There's no doubt about it. But I get the frustration. I completely understand where everyone's coming from. As Sean says, he's got big sellers he's competing with. Some of them are selling between, 10 and £12.50, losing money. Cheaper at £9.99 because fees rocketing, starting just over the £10. We've talked about that previously. Maybe we'll talk about that in a bit more detail. I'll remember to bring it up next time. And don't think some of the big boys are aware of this. They're probably not, Sean. What I've learned over the last year is what you assume people know. In reality, they don't. So, but it's not your place to educate them of that. You can't message them and say, guys, do you know that if you're losing money, if you're doing this, it's their selling journey, it's their selling strategy. You just got to let them get on with it and have the foresight to know, to be able to read the data and look at it and say, okay, this is going to come back. And if it doesn't come back, but you can't get frustrated by it. You can't let it consume you a little bit, because otherwise it's just going to send you on a negative path, I think.
And I'd say, I get asked all the time, not personally, but people say, oh, but I think I've pretty much got to grips with how everything works and how, what I need to do and blah, blah, blah. And it's is there much more to learn? And I'm like, there's there's hundreds of hours, of content that I probably haven't even learned myself. If someone was to know it and then do a video on it, every year is pretty much different than the previous, because I've learned what now I should be doing and completely changed it. But if I, without that, well, that just shows that that's the amount of information I've taken to then adapt the processes and the way I do things to almost completely change the model. I mean, it's not obviously the foundation for me is replenishables, but it's just the way I do things, the systems or the thought or the mindset behind things. All of these things are an ever-evolving construct.
Absolutely. And let's not take into account as well that Amazon change stuff all the time as well. So when you think you've got something completely down, then they'll throw in a policy change, or they'll change the way something does it, or they'll move the goalposts or whatever. But the good thing about that, by being aware of the changes that Amazon does make, that I do think it allows you to kind of pivot your business and, evolve your business at the end of the day. Because if you did everything from day one as you did it, 4 years later, there's a good chance you're not going to be making any money because your business hasn't evolved.
And also it's a good thing because it does shake out the weak hands, as they sort of say, it keeps the market ever moving and evolving and maturing and changing. It's not literally the same people just doing rinse and repeat. It's like even like Woolworths and stuff like that. The people that never changed slowly get shaken out of the market overall.
You
need that to have innovation and growth and overall sort of I don't know what the word I can use now, but just to keep it nice and sort of clean and healthy and that kind of thing is what I'm trying to say, rather than just have it sort of just stagnant and just non-maturing really. Can I get what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we're going to come into a period of time, certainly over the next 6 months, there's going to be certain retailers that have not and do not adapt to the new normal and what is going to happen. I can't remember exactly who it was, so apologies, but I saw a post in the group where someone said about that they had been physically told by an Argos manager that they're cutting down on bulk buying, limited to 3. And I really can't remember who said it, so apologies. But they're cutting down on this and they're doing that. 1, Argos have been saying that from day 1. 2, I've been physically marched out of store by an Argos area manager, and it's pretty embarrassing, but I got over it. And 3, Argos, it's same point as 1. They've been saying that since day 1, and it's because you generally what happens is you get a bit of a job's worth manager that doesn't like what's going on, and it's probably because, and this is going to sound really petty, but he might be a bit jealous or something like that because he hasn't thought of that idea and someone else is making money or whatever. And he's the one that says to you, do you know what? We're going to be cutting down on this. We're going to be doing this, or we're going to be doing that. It might not even be company policy at the end of the day, but those type of companies, if they don't start adapting, and yes, I could get into a whole nother thing about loss leaders and the reason why they do it, and they don't make any money on people like us because they don't. So I completely get that. But businesses, you're going to see a few of these businesses limp through probably until Q4, see out of Christmas. But we're going to see a lot of businesses shutting down over the, retail. Big retailers are going to be shutting down.
Definitely over the next couple of years as well, I think.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be such a period of uncertainty. And do you know what? When James and Sons department store shuts down, where are they going to go and shop?
Yeah, exactly. So it's more like, it's almost like now a little bit of a mirror into the future of where we could be in 5 years or 10 years. I know to me, that's not, I don't really mind looking at 5 years time, but some people think that's crazy, too far away. But, that could be, definitely over with all the debt as well that is currently going on. A lot of these businesses won't be able to, they might be okay for the short term. They're going to open, they're going to get an influx of customers and that kind of thing. But over the years, you will start seeing some of this sort of non-innovative companies maybe just get flushed out.
Yeah, absolutely.
They'll have to go online.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to see a lot of casualties in the high street, unfortunately. And I don't want to see that personally. I'd rather see them, adapt and survive at the end of the day, because the saddest part of it all that people forget is, these people's livelihoods, people's jobs, and so many families are going to be impacted by it. And it's just very short-sighted. But anyway, I had a little bit of a giggle because Simona said they called the manager on me in Boots the other week. It's a bit like getting told off. But yeah, Boots have got better, I think, actually, than they used to be. Way more people have success with ordering from Boots now than they used to. So, but yeah, that's pretty funny. So Ray says, how many items are you aiming to purchase, Callum? That must have been to a previous message. Callum said he did get the riot act to Argos last week. So yeah, I mean, they have been saying it since day dot. I don't want to, make light of it that, bulk buying, they might be cracking down on it. But at the end of the day, you're going to get people that care, and you're going to get jobs worth, and you're going to get people that don't at the end of the day. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. You just need to develop a little bit of thick skin if you're going to be going into the stores. But as I said, it's not illegal. All they can do is say no at the end of the day. So as long as you're prepared for that, that's the most important thing. So just a lot of people saying, Matt says normally June would suck, so this June is going to be so much better. Completely agree. Just a few people saying thank you. Been worried about the last couple of weeks, and just talking about it tonight has hopefully done what we intended to do from the start, just delivering a little bit of reassurance. These are the quieter months we're coming into. It can be hard to look back and compare it if you've not been selling for that long. But Amazon's not going anywhere. That's just to reassure everyone from that point of view. Sean says, be getting loads of bargains when shops open up. I completely agree. Seasonal items, there's going to be something.
I was going on the webcam.
I didn't see it. I took my eye off of it. I saw something there. But yeah, there's definitely going to be bargains when those shops up. And by the way, whoever did the government lockdown thing today confirmed that shops will be opening from 15th of June. So it's definitely happening. Shops are going to be opening up. And guys, there's going to be more variety available as well. So coming after June, all of the guys that have just been doing that normally just do RA, who identified different stocks, we've all been fishing from the same pond, so might see competition levels being reduced slightly in different areas as well. So just don't panic. It's not what we want anyone to do. So Callum says 10 of one item. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't think that's that bad. Argos normally are okay with 10 items. I used to think it was like 3s for some reason on Argos, but I can't remember. But
the only thing I used to do back in the day was just do click and collect at like an hour, just do a trip around the closest like 4 or 5 Argos. They weren't that far. And I would get 5, you know, just to keep it easy. I'll get 4 or 5, you know, whatever I thought was
appropriate. We've got loads of Argoses near us, but the best ones now are the ones in Sainsbury's. So, and I think that will be Argos's event plan, that they're consolidate everything.
Well, that's exactly what I think most businesses should be doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
They are doing that because like the high streets are going, well, where is everyone going? Like to a big Tesco's or big Sainsbury's, but then there's also an Argos there, and like, they're always rammed. Well, okay, it's last year and it's still rammed. You know, I'll go obviously not recently, but you kind of get what I mean.
Yeah, I went to Sainsbury's yesterday, and there was a queue 10 deep in Argos of people queuing up to collect their stuff. So, you know, as a business, probably someone like Argos, I reckon they've done all right the last few months, to tell you the truth. So we'll wait and see what happens. Fingers crossed they bring back the 3 for 2. That would be lovely if they could do that this year. I don't think they will, because they've got.
I think Disney might do something potentially. They always do something. But it's never. I don't know if it's ever as good as it is the previous. I'm trying to remember now when we used to have the great 3 for 2. Like it had like 3 for 2 happened twice. Then there was one at Tesco's direct. You know, it was like it used to always be a proper thing where if you could time it right, you could get absolute crazy. You could spend like 20 grand easily in like a day.
Yeah. Disney generally still do a 3 for 2. They tend to do it once a year, and it's generally around the Black Friday. So on Black Friday, they tend to do like a 3 for 2 or something like that. And then the Cyber Monday, they might do a percentage off or something like that, but they don't do as much as they used to. But Disney have been discounting like crazy over the last few weeks, to be perfectly honest. And this is when we were talking about supply and demand. As everyone knows, I sell a lot of Disney products and things like that. But over the last few months, you've got to be prepared to sit on them a little bit. They've had a continuous discount on for about 8 weeks, and that's really unusual for Disney products normally. And there's never-ending supply with Disney as well. So those products, you've got to expect that, you know, the prices are probably going to go down, be driven down a little bit on those. But that's because Disney don't have any physical stores at the end of the day, so there's not going to be much of a change there. So those are the little things that you have to look out for, to look for when things are going to end and how long you've got to be prepared to kind of sit on things. But yeah, bring back Tesco Direct. Those were the days. That would be amazing. But I can't help thinking that the majority of us put Tesco Direct out of business.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's a bit of a, maybe there's a massive reason behind it, but it was just a bit.
It was just a loss-making business. They said it just never made any money.
Yeah.
You know, but their prices were crazy. You could pick up like sets of Lego that I'd imagine that they were losing money on. They must have been. I
remember the good one. You know, the best. It was just when you're getting like, you know, 3 Lego sets for like 130, 40 quid, and you could sell them for like 300 on Amazon. You know, it was sort of like, yeah. It was just, you know, they're quite easy to find and stuff as well at the time.
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole selling model in itself, you know, hanging on to kind of discounted Lego and things like that, but we won't go into it. We've gone well past the hour, so let's wrap it up. So Sean says he's got a big Sainsbury's order to collect using the van tomorrow. Don't get everything with Sainsbury's though. See, mine are quite good actually. They've generally got quite a lot of stock, but it's a pretty big Sainsbury's. When is my supermarket coming back? Hopefully soon. Hopefully at some point. I actually I shared a story. I won't tell it now. Maybe next time we're on, remind me, Luke, about my supermarket and some kind of changes there. In the hope that they will be coming back at some point. So remind me, and I'll let everyone know the conversation I had about my supermarket in my course group. Anyway, but yeah, wouldn't it be great if they come back? I think they're coming back. Oh, by the way, I think my supermarket are going to be coming back. So that's my forecast on that. But thank you for joining me, Luke Dugan.
It's cool. I'm here every 2 weeks anyway, or currently anyway. I'm going to get a sack or something.
Right. Yeah, you're definitely here. You're definitely here. But there's this guy I know called Luke Duggan who might be joining me next time.
He does. He's a good guy, I think.
He's a great guy, definitely. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. I know we pushed well past the hour tonight, but there was definitely lots to talk about. If you've got any questions, please don't hesitate to post them in the group, and we always do our best to make sure we answer them as quickly as possible. But yeah, have a great week, everyone. Sky's not falling in, just to recap.
Join us, guys.
It's still happening.
Girls.
And I will see you all next week. I'm not sure with who yet. I'm going to try and get someone new. If not, it might be Matt. We should wait and see, but I'll let you know who's going to be joining me next week anyway. Thank you for your time, Luke. Much appreciated.
Thank you. See you later, everyone. Have a nice evening.
Take care. Have a good evening, everyone. Take care. Bye.
Bye.